We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back with our Liberty Nation Superstar Triumvirate, including myself, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza. Now, we've covered the legal angle and how things worked out for President Trump, but I want to examine what this means for the political parties in the country. Now, Tim, there's a story doing the rounds on the media that I think originated in Politico, saying that Democrats actually want the GOP to rally around Donald Trump and make him the nominee for 2024 because they believe that they can beat him. And maybe they couldn't with another candidate. What do you make of that?
Well, you've just given my answer to your question.
Right.
The better idea is to actually ask a question to induce. No, but seriously, I think it is pretty clear, and I'm not really going to go to the point of saying that Alvin Bragg was just being used as a dupe, as a sort of a diversion from the whole thing. But I think it's pretty clear that the Democrats' preference has to be facing Donald Trump rather than Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Mike Pompeo or Mike Pence or any of these other candidates who would stand a better chance because of Biden's weak record and the fact that they don't have the baggage that Trump has. I think it's pretty clear that this is going to help Donald Trump in the primary. It can't, because it's all about him now. The whole thing is about him. So, it's sucking all the oxygen out of the room for Ron DeSantis and anybody else who hopes to run for president. So I think the plan on the left is, go ahead and be aggressive with these legal actions because it'll stoke fury among Republicans and get them to turn out, and Trump will win the nomination. And then they will really set the dogs loose on Trump once the nomination is determined. And they can do all they want to bring up every liability Trump has during the general election. I don't think it's preposterous at all to believe that this is exactly not just what they want, but what they've planned for. And that the timing of this arrest could well have something to do with that very thing. Because as I pointed out previously, now Trump's going to be the center of attention for all the Republican debates for the rest of this year. He's just going to basically subdue any other potential candidacies because of this.
Okay. Now, Scott, it seems that there's a presumption within the fourth estate that if Trump is found guilty of something, it won't actually matter that much. But could it be more a valve that opens the floodgates for other indictments? I think my question here is, are further indictments dependent upon how this particular charge goes for Donald Trump? Or I should say, counselor, does the idea hold water?
I don't see how
that was my cousin Vinny impression. It was terrible.
Yeah, that was a Marissa Tomei impression, which I
did with aplomb. For those of you watching on video, there's a certain similarity.
Are we going to talk about the Utes too?
The Utes, yeah. Got to find out about those Utes. Scott, what do you think?
The only way that I think this indictment has any bearing on other indictments is that other prosecutors may see the coverage of this indictment and decide they want some of that sweet, sweet ink spilled about them and their offices, and so they might join in, or the opposite, that they are looking at what it's going to be like to indict Donald Trump on thin gruel as far as legal cause is concerned, and may wish to pull back from that. But legally speaking, no, there's no bearing.
Okay. Now, Alvin Bragg, he's a Democrat, obviously. It seems that other Democrats are being associated with the prosecution, rightly or wrongly. They're tarred with the same brush. It's your party, therefore it's your responsibility. And if this whole thing collapses, now I'm just reminded, Joe Biden, when he was asked about this directly after the charges came out, he just snickered and walked away, and then was asked another question. Now, I believe the official White House transcript of this stuff, skipped out that entire question. And obviously his snickering, because I'm not sure how you'd spell a snicker in this thing. But what do you think the Democrat process is here? What are they thinking? Are Democrats thinking that this is a good thing because it sets up, as you say, it sets him up for a flawed candidate for 2024? Or are they worried that if he is exonerated, that it could be an even greater battering ram to use against them?
That's for me?
No, that's for Tim.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was for Scott too. That's okay.
They both zoned out. The question was so long.
While Tim is thinking of a brilliant answer, I'll just say that I'm happy for the snickering because it indicates a higher level of intelligence to process the question and then come out with the snicker in response to it. It's a nice.
He could have just been thinking about ice cream, though. Really.
Well, with that timing and
yeah.
Well, that is case, I think we're saying that it's. I think we're saying that it's advanced intellectual engagement for the president of the United States to be able to snicker at something that he probably doesn't understand any better than we do, to be honest with you. But the Democrats, look, this is all uncharted territory on top of uncharted territory. On top of uncharted territory, because we've got a president like no other seeking to get back into the Oval Office. There's a guy that's in that Oval Office now that's older than any president in history and would be, well, to say doddering at 86 years old when he would leave office after a second term might be a bit excessive, but we've never had a president who's been prosecuted. We've never had one that was even indicted. So it's so uncharted territory that a lot of this will hinge on how this case develops from here, because it seems to me that nobody's going to be focusing on issues. Everybody's going to be focusing on guilt or innocence. And that I think Trump has to hope that eventually this gets him to the point of being able to do a direct side-by-side comparison between his record and Biden's, because that's what he's going to need beyond coming out of this process not much weaker or even stronger from having survived it. So I think the Democrats are, this is a riverboat gamble. If they succeed, they will breathe life into the other investigations in Georgia and with a special prosecutor. But if they fail, they will be widely viewed by not just Trumpists, but average citizens as on a witch hunt. No question.
Yeah, I mean, that's the term that seems to be sufficing everything that we've had so far. Now, don't touch that dial. We'll be wrapping up our special edition after this short break, discussing what this means for America and whether the Rubicon has really been crossed. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5.